there, come on in. It's Thursday night, October 4th, the year 2001. Monday was the opening of bow hunting season for deer in Michigan, and the beauty of hunting in October is the weather. It's usually gorgeous, and the bad days are actually pretty mild compared to gun season. For many hunters, deer camp is as big a draw as the deer hunt. And we'll talk about the old-fashioned tent camp and other topics of interest to sportsmen. You stay tuned. I'm Fred Trost with a show for the practical sportsman. This was our bow camp on the edge of some good hunting land near Tawas. Now, whether it's late October or mid-November, hunting from a tent in cold weather can be fun, but only if you're prepared. Well, here we are. Spacious pumpkin tent. Now this is camping, a bargain type of camping situation. You can see basically we're set up with a sleeping area here and a cooking area over here. Most often you'd want to cook outside because of the humidity, put a fly up, but it is so cold, down to 15 degrees last night, that we're doing some cooking in here. We have the stove here, gasoline stove, on a metal table. Oh, right here, look at this. Charlie has some of his chili. Look at that, John. This is awesome chili. That's heating up on the stove. We're going to eat in just a little bit. We have drinking water by the door. We have another stove here. Now this kind of stove, if you ever see one at a garage sale sometime, this old cast iron type of propane stove, excellent to use on camping. This is one we borrowed. It's mounted on a board. Outside, we have a hose run out there to a big LP gas tank. You can see it outside the tent. We use this for some of our heavy-duty cooking. Gloves, matches, right by here because you're always moving hot pans and things. Right over my head is a lantern we've hung from the ceiling, throws light, a little bit of heat. Down here, storage. Okay, these are things that you can borrow from people just for a camping trip. These milk crates, excellent. We have some potatoes in here. This heater, found out that this wouldn't do the job in this big tent. It has a small propane tank. It costs a lot of money to run something like this. This you'll see us use in duck blinds, ice fishing, deer hunting. Not in this tent though. Here's our setup for our cooking. We have all of our food here, different types of ice chests. This is just an inexpensive styrofoam, but we tape the top on. Here we have lunch meat. This, best idea going. Chili. Charlie made up some chili at home. This was frozen. Here's stew that's still frozen. The more you can make up at home, put in bags, and heat up at camp, the easier it is. But we have utensils here. Here, these were Tim Farragon's knives, forks, and spoons. He got these at a garage sale. $10 got the whole bag, a whole set of utensils, enough for 8 people. So this is our cooking setup here. It does throw off some humidity. Oh, I'll tell you how to deal with that later. Now for our sleeping accommodations. We do have a bunk that came with this tent. It's just a freestanding bunk, but this is where John Ford sleeps up top. He has a regular sleeping bag. This is not a down sleeping bag. He was a little chilly, so he put some down vests inside here to put on top of him at night, which helps out. Throws a comforter on top. Now, Tim Farragon, downstairs here, has the ideal setup. He has a goose down sleeping bag, 12 pounds of eider goose down in this, with a flannel liner, which is important. It keeps the humidity right in this liner, and you can air it out. But he's all set with this and a pillow. You see he has a flashlight right by the bottom of the bunk. That's for getting up in the night, those emergency trips you have to make. His boots ready to go, and a stool to sit on to put the boots on. The drawback of this eider sleeping bag, there's only one drawback. That's the price tag. It's about $400 nowadays for a sleeping bag like this. Obviously, I'm not in a position for a $400 sleeping bag yet, so I am showing you the bargain way to keep warm when the temperature gets down to 15 degrees like it was. This sleeping bag here is an old one that I've had around. The zipper is broken on it, so it can't be used as a sleeping bag. I put this on top of me. Also, underneath that is a wool blanket, just for a little extra insulation. Now here's my sleeping bag. It's a down sleeping bag, probably designed for 10, 20 degrees, but over the years, some of the feathers I think are broken down a little bit and it isn't that warm. So inside this down sleeping bag, I put a blanket. This is a sort of a cotton blanket. In fact, Look at this. It was an electric blanket that fizzled. So this is a non-functional electric blanket, but I use it on camping trips. I sleep inside this, and this is the warmest thing I've found for an inner liner. It's like a flannel sheet. And under it, foam pad. Air mattresses, no good in temperatures like we're dealing with here, down to 10, 20 degrees at night. But this foam pad insulates you from anything. I like to sleep on a cot, a small cot, because air circulates there, just minimizes the humidity problem that might come up from the bottom. But that's what I'm sleeping on. But now, what am I really sleeping in? I'll tell you, when the temperature gets down, like last night to 15 degrees, the air you're breathing, your head gets tremendously cold, and a lot of heat can go out the top of your head. Here's what I wear to bed. Remember, this is no beauty contest. First of all, I wear a sweatshirt and a pair of sweatpants, along with wool socks. Put those on for the basic pajamas. And this is the real key. I wear a knit hat, which I put on my head, and that keeps my head warm, my ears warm, and, believe it or not, a scarf. Wind the scarf around my neck like that, and I stay warm all night long. The air doesn't come in and out. In fact, I've gotten John Ford. John, you're wearing this at night too, this type of thing. A pillow. Don't ever let anybody tell you that a pillow is sissy in camp. This keeps you warm. Yeah, I turn it over at night because it gets a little moist. A lot of humidity in here, like I said, in an enclosed tent. Now, here's another thing. Sissy, tough rocks. When I have to get up in the night, I swing over, put on these slippers. That's all I wear them for. They have a good walking bottom on it, so I can go outside and do what I have to do in the middle of the night. Keep our clothes in duffel bags. That's the easiest way to organize. This is a big duffel bag. It was about a $30 duffel bag, I think, but I can carry all kinds of things in it. And that's our basic setup. Oh, ground cloth. This is a small ground cloth, another thing we borrowed, but put down on the ground, keeps your feet dry when you wake up in the night or you're walking around. Now, I told you before about the humidity problems. You can see the humidity here on the inside of the tent, partly from cooking, but a lot of it just from breathing at night, having 3, 4, 5 people in the tent. In the daytime, when we get up, look at that humidity. Wow, on the inside. Unzip the windows and let this humidity out. That's very important to do, to air out the tent during the day. And another thing you want to do after you get up in the morning, take your sleeping bag, open it up. If you don't air it out and hang it up, at least open it up like that and let it air out and dry out. That's very important, very important. This is our camp setup. This is where we've spent the last week. Believe it or not, even without, we're supposed to have a wood stove here. Somebody absconded with our wood stove where we had it stored, so we didn't have the wood stove to keep us warm. But we kept comfortable with the sleeping bags, with our cooking facilities. A lot of this, like I said, when we go back home this weekend, we have to give it back to people we've borrowed different things from. But that's a practical way to go. Find some friends who have some different items, and you can collaborate and do camping trips like this. It's a lot of fun.
You know, the best thing about a hunting camp like this is always the food. Now, it's probably no better than what you get at home, but for some reason, the meals around a campfire seem like the best you ever tasted.
That bow camp in 1992 was a lot of fun, a memorable bow camp, but we didn't use the pumpkin tent again for 5 more years. On one firearm opener, we had 2 days. Let's see, there was Tim Farragon, Matt Radzalowski, Sal Ghani, and Dick Archer, rest his soul. But we went on public land this time, and the great thing about public land is that we've all paid for it through our taxes, so it doesn't cost us a dime to use. If you want a permit for camping on state land, it's free. I think we have here the guys cooking. All right. Oh, it looks like we got a skillet full of beans, a pot full of Franks, huh, Matty?
Yep.
Hey, looking good. And what's Sal doing? Flipping the buns, toasting them. That's great, here on this wooden stove. Yeah, this tent is a real spacious tent. We found that sleeping here, I mean, we get a lot of junk and it's hard to sleep and eat and do all this. You guys, what are you watching? The Foot Locker, football, huh? Football. Isn't that something else? Battery-powered radio. Well, Tim, I see you made it over here. You got your stuff all packed up?
Most of it.
This will be the final meal for deer camp. Richard Archer relaxing and Sal Ghani. Oh, Johnny, I got to show you these chairs. These guys are sitting in chairs that look pretty deluxe. We got Brandon Coleman came out with these like director's chairs. Look at that. Oh, man. This is living. You know, with a little more planning, this could really be awesome. Well, tent camping takes a bit more planning than trailer camping or staying in a cabin, but tent camping has one big advantage. You can pitch a tent back in the woods where you couldn't haul a big trailer. These remote campsites have privacy and solitude like you can't find anyplace else. You know, this is my land, and it's your land too. It belongs to all of us. We put our campsite in probably one of the most picturesque parts of our property here. This is our river as well. This is actually the Manistee River flowing right along the edge of our campsite. Now we have a little swamp, a little finger going out here by the river, but here's our camp. This is our That gun season in 1997 on the banks of the Manistee River was the last time we used the pumpkin tent. Camps like this are best when you're young and when you have the time to set up and stay for a week or so. But because of the demands of the weekly TV show, I just don't get a week at a time for hunting the old-fashioned way, which is why we set up the pumpkin tent here in the museum and we put a price tag on it. If you're a Practical Sportsman partner, you get $75 off. This pumpkin tent needs a good home, somebody who would use it more than once every 5 years. I'm getting lots of phone calls and letters about DNR policies and regulations from people who really aren't too happy about their experiences. Over the years, I've done lots of reports, lots of commentary on DNR laws and regulations, and I really don't think I've had any appreciable effect at all on what the DNR does. But this doesn't mean that you shouldn't voice your opinion. Now, I'd like to play for you a 2-minute phone conversation. A lady called in. She really doesn't want to be identified, but she feels very strongly about her experience with the Report All Poaching hotline. Maybe you've had a similar experience. Listen to this.
You know, I've come from a large family of people that have hunted. I've hunted my entire life. I have a woods all the way around my place. Just a wonderful place to hunt. So I was out walking around, and I noticed a gut pile laying there, and the remains of like a buck. I mean, it was quite obvious it had been a buck. There was a trail where a four-wheeler had drove up and around where the deer is and, you know, had loaded the deer, quite obvious. And the trail led right to these people's house. I called the DNR, and they were not at all interested. It was like, this is okay with them. I'm one of these people that I believe in right and wrong, and it's like if my family abides by the rules and regulations, I feel that everyone should. I mean, it's the right thing to do. We have rules for a reason. And I just don't feel this is right, that they're not even interested in following up on this complaint when they can follow the trail from this four-wheeler right to this person's house. They need to do something about this. If we're going to pay them to regulate this deer herd, let's do it the right way. Let's not have people out there at night shooting across the damn fence. And do you understand what I'm saying?
I don't think anybody would misunderstand what you're saying.
I'm personally sick of it. If anybody was going to gripe about the deer, it would be me. I have, deer going through my fences all the time. I take the time to go out and fix them. I don't go out there and go blasting away at deer out of season, And I feel that the Michigan DNR, as far as I'm concerned, is totally out of control when it comes to the deer herd. And I really don't think they know what is going on.
I do have an update on Tuesday, 2 days ago. But 3 weeks after she called in the complaint, the DNR called her back.
But I said, why would you wait until both seasons opened before you, come and follow up on this complaint? Well, we don't have anybody in the Charlotte area, is what he said. And it's like, does this mean that they've cut down on help so our taxes are going to be less, or what kind of a deal have we got going here?
I really don't think a drop in taxes or in license fees is in the cards, but I do see DNR that is increasingly difficult to work with, more illogical regulations, and you don't think this is a big buck? Well, excuse me. I happen to think that any hunter who gets a deer deserves credit. In my book, a big spike buck is a trophy too. Big Buck Night is coming up on Thursday, December 6th on public television, but the warm-up act is Big Spike Night. That's an event you'll only see on the next Practical Sportsman. That's coming up next week right here on public TV. This Saturday, October 6th, is the first Saturday of the month, which means it's Puppy Saturday at our Museum of Outdoor Collectibles in Bath. And there's no charge to display puppies outside, no charge to shop. Litters start showing up about 9 or 9:30. These puppies are looking for good, loving homes. How can anybody resist taking home a puppy like this?